The United States is 15% of China's export market. So what Trump is proposing is now a retaliatory 50% additional tariff. So that brings the tariffs on Chinese goods to approximately 100%. And is China going to back down from their 34% tariffs? What does the situation look like from their point of view? From their point of view, the United States is removing itself from the international order. It is blowing up our alliances. It is isolating itself. China also produces 90% of the world's rare earth metals that are essential for all high-tech engineering. China could easily shut off rare earth exports to the United States entirely. They're already saying they're going to restrict the sale. China could be making the calculation that they're going to trade with friendly countries and set up a free trade regime that is excluding the United States. The impact on U.S. technology and economic dominance in the world would be quite large. Trump does not seem to care about this, and I suspect he may just push forward with this to the maximum extent. This would be absolutely catastrophic for the United States economy. China would then be establishing its dominance over the entire globe. So essentially what Trump is doing is removing the United States from the center of global trade and potentially just handing over world dominance to China. One of the mistakes people are making is assuming that Trump is just using the tariffs as a negotiating tactic and he's not really serious about them. Now, this has been reported on, but the vast majority of people, even people who are in finance, don't seem to understand this or know this. If you look back for decades, you can see Donald Trump, even back when he called himself a Democrat, was an extreme proponent of high tariffs. He has always had this very simplistic idea that if we are buying more than we are selling back to a given country, that we are on the losing end. What this is ignoring is the fact that when we buy things from another country, we're not just giving them money for free. We're actually getting goods and services in return for the money that we send them. If you look at Trump's background, he has, generally speaking, always been doing these negotiations, quote unquote, in which is always a winner and a loser. He's trying to force other people to take a worse deal than he's getting, and he thinks of everything in those kind of zero-sum terms. He doesn't think about building value. He thinks about who is winning the negotiation over a fixed set of resources. He's not a creator of value. He is a person who just thinks it's about allocating the existing value. This is how civilizations decline and fall. In the early parts of a civilization, people are building something new. They're trying to grow it. They're trying to create new things. In the later part of the civilization, people just think, well, it's just given that there's stuff out there already, and we just have to figure out how we're going to divide it up. There's less of an emphasis on growing and building and much more of an emphasis on divvying things up. This is the world that Trump lives in. He doesn't live in the world of creation. So of course he thinks that if we are exporting less to a country and then we're importing, that we are losing. Because he just thinks there's this finite amount of stuff that just has to be allocated. So he's a true believer in this tariff universe. He doesn't understand the idea of trade actually increasing the wealth of everyone in the trading environment. Now, I do think that you want to be somewhat careful about absolute free trade. There are reasons why you want to protect your domestic industries if you have them. But what Trump is doing, tariffing things that we cannot make in the United States, or tariffing industries that we no longer want to have in the United States because they're low-paying, low-wage jobs. That makes no sense whatsoever, and it's not going to work. It's just going to make us poorer, and we are going to cut ourselves off from the world economy. But this is not an act. He really believes in this, and he's going to push it much harder than people realize. Trump is not going to change his mind easily.